Yo, what is up, fam? It is Nick here with Living Rich to talk about the subtleties, enigmas, uh, just about life in general, and some of the ways to that I found for myself, I guess, to live it better. And yeah, yeah. So let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, um, I was broke as hell, and I found myself just being a suction cup for everybody around me. You know, just taking. And one day, like, it just felt so bad. Like, I was just like, I just saw myself going down this path where I just wasn't giving any value. And it hurt, you know. I just didn't want to be that guy. And since then, I found a job and I worked my ass off to, and I wouldn't even say work my ass off, but I worked consistently with a purpose to not be a drain on the people around me. And so, fast forward a few years, um, I have money enough to where I'm not like needing stuff from other people, and I think it got to the point where I um, what was it? It's almost like I was too afraid to receive anything. So, and like that was kind of, I just didn't want to be, indebted to anyone or anything like that, because gone so far in the other direction. And so the pendulum swung back. And then what happens when you don't receive stuff from other people, and you don't accept stuff from other people, and you just think like you got to do everything on your own, it's a very lonely life, and you don't work together, and you don't have as many collaborations. So what ended up happening after that, fast forward to now, was, I found myself stuck. I found myself stuck in like relationships, or like with how far I could go in relationships, because I was like too independent. And what I've come to now, where I'm at, is kind of where I accept as much as I possibly can, but at the same time, I keep the balance between. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, I allow myself to get indebted to people, but at the same time, I don't need to be indebted to people. And so, sometimes, like, allowing people to help you out fosters better relationships, and it fosters more opportunity and makes you seem more human and more approachable, which is is cool. While at the same time, I still have that kind of bend in the back of my head. Like, I want to have, you know, screw you money, to where like I don't, like I'd love for you to help me out. I'd love, your support, your generosity, and as long as the vibe is good and we're all getting along, and everything's working out in a win-win situation, to where I'm happy about it and you're happy about it, um, then that is going to be great. And then once that starts to go south, there's also, I'm also comfortable with my resources to where we can part ways if that does go south. So, for example, I right now I'm on a bike trip, and there's lots of situations where people are being extremely generous to me. I've had people like walk up, offer to buy me dinner, and like crash at their places, offer to like have somewhere to fix my bike, and or to camp out, or even here in Austin, my cousin just fucking hooked it up. Like he's shown me probably like the coolest time here, and hosted very well, and has just paid so much attention, and opened his house to me. And so, like, think about it like this. Like, sorry. If, when I first started out, when I was younger, my paradigm was like, oh yeah, I'd accept it, and I just take. And I'd be like less aware of where his boundaries were, and where his, cutoff was of his generosity, and then I wouldn't have taken the opportunity to give when it was appropriate for me to give, or I would not have had the resources to do so. Fast forward a few years to where I was the opposite and not accepting help. I would have came here very idealistic, and I would have, and at this point in my life I did do this, I would have kind of like shut out any help, and like it would have just been weird and awkward, and I would have been like, oh no, I don't want to stay with you, or I won't let you buy me that drink, or whatever, or I won't accept this, because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to pay him back. And then that in itself would have squashed kind of the energy, or the blossoming seed of what could have been. And then now, while I am definitely still adjusting stuff, and I'm not trying to say I'm perfect in any way. Now this is a little bit how it went down, and this is from my point of view. I hope he's had like equally as good of an experience hosting me as I've had being hosted by him, because it's been a fucking phenomenal experience. On top of that, Austin is amazing. So this is how it went down. I came in, I was going to be late, so I let him know I was going to be late. And I was on a bicycle, so he offered to pick me up, and he drove 40 minutes to come pick me up, each way. And so, like, I could have done two things there. I could have said, no, I did not want to be picked up, because I would have been very idealistic about the bike trip thing. And that could have, that may not have been taking his point of view into account, because it was already, like, what if I came home late and he wasn't trying to stay up late? Like, what then? And so I kind of saw that. I kind of like looked and tried to see beneath like maybe he wanted to, like spend some time with me that night, hang out, and he was expecting to do that, and he was planning on, you know, taking that time to host me, and he was willing to do that. So and it didn't mean anything bad for me to accept it. It was actually amazing to accept the ride, and and so that it was perfect. And so like by doing that, it allowed me to kind of sync up with his rhythm. Um, Fast forward to later that night when we went out to get dinner. I paid for it. I was like, thank you for, you know, allowing me to, or thank you for coming and picking me up, allowing me to stay at your place. Really appreciate it. So, um, wait, when I was first, you know, a young adult, that would have been impossible for me because I would have just been on the receiving side. I would have been like, yeah, come pick me up. And then like we would have went out to dinner and I would have either only bought my own dinner or even accepted him to buy me dinner. And it would have been a very one-way street. Um, Although sometimes that is all you can do, or maybe all you can do is just be grateful for it. But like, I just didn't have the awareness back then when I first became an adult, just because my family is relatively well off and like they've always been very generous. Um, and it's almost like not working and not having the capability to reciprocate is is a form of, you know, ignorance. Yeah, it's almost like a social retardation. So when so that I feel like that was like the most ideal situation, um, and staying present, with what's going on, with, you know, people's moods is very important too. Like, um, an example of something that didn't work to contrast this was, you know, this bike trip with my friends, biking with my friends. Like the biking was fine, but biking with my friends wasn't working because you know, I wasn't paying attention to how they were feeling the entire time, and there are some things that I do, or am very rigid about, like spending time in stores and like doing, you know, making sure I'm well fed and, um, you know, like my speed of biking compared to theirs. It's just like no one thing in particular was bad. It just almost felt like everything. It was just a bunch of little out of sync, desynchronized steps, and maybe I wanted it to be that way. Maybe I wanted it to, you know, I wanted to push them away because it's you know, I'm not the most sociable person. Like I'm relatively good socially, but you know, not I'm not like looking to always be around people. You know, I kind of enjoy that alone time. So that may have been my way of like passively aggressively pushing them away. Um, and so that I think is another thing. It's like you can get to where you can like reciprocate and where you're willing to reciprocate, but if you're not syncing up with the other people energetically wise, then that's not going to work either. And a lot of times that'll be the cause for splits. You know, if you're not paying attention to the moods and the energy and where stuff is going, and you're always just blindly trying to follow maybe your habits or your paths, um, or even if you're doing it intentionally, it probably won't work out because there's just a like constant shear of this like underlying energy that just like keeps like bouncing off each other. So what I did, um, looking forward, coming into, you know, spending time with my cousin, I actually learned a lot from like the breakup with my friends, and I I was like, okay, so I was clear. That was one thing. I was like, okay, so I'm thinking about staying here till, you know, I came in on Thursday. I was like, I'm thinking about staying here till Tuesday, Wednesday. Is that cool? You know, I was very upfront. I asked him, um, and then I followed him. You know, he wanted to. I saw he wanted to, you know, host and be here, and that's how he wanted to do it. And he was a very, or he is a very, you know, involved host, and I recognize that. And it wasn't hard to, and I went along with it. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. I'm down to experience this. And he was like, cool, let's do this, let's do that. And I was like, let's do it, cool. Um, and I think that helped out a lot as well. And also, like, I kept my space clean, like that he allowed me to sleep at his house, or I'm keeping it clean. I'm actually still here. This is his patio. He's at work right now. Um, and just, you know, did my best to be respectful, while at the same time, you know, receiving what he wanted to give and giving what I wanted to give as well. So that is kind of, you know, where I'm at as far as you know, my social awareness right now. And yeah, maybe you can learn something from that. Maybe you just enjoyed listening to that. But either way, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys again soon. Peace.